Newell stood at the window of the space station, looking out at the blue planet called Earth. He touched the cold glass with his 3 fingers, which quickly changed into 5 human fingers. Being the best shapeshifter in the Galactic Coalition had its benefits. He could change his form faster than anyone else. "Agent Newell, please sit down." Director Yu Jin's voice was filled with worry. She sat behind her metal desk, holding a data tablet that showed pictures of Earth. Newell turned and walked to the chair. Even his walk was perfect. No one could tell he wasn't human. He had studied their movements for months. "Director, you seem worried. It's just another human mission. They don't even have proper space travel yet." Yu Jin shook her head. Her silver skin reflected the room's lights. "This is different. We've lost contact with 5 infiltrators on Earth in the past year. They simply disappeared." Newell smiled. His new human face made the expression look natural. "Those agents weren't as good as me. I've completed 200 missions. Not once has anyone discovered what I really am. The humans are." Yu Jin paused, looking for the right words. "They're unusual. They don't follow normal patterns. Their technology is basic, but strange energy readings are coming from their planet. Energy that shouldn't be possible with their level of science." She showed him the tablet. Red dots marked places on Earth where the energy had been detected. "Your mission is to find out what's causing these readings. We've created a perfect background for you. You'll be a professor at something they call a university." Newell studied the map. Most of the dots were around a small city in a place called South Korea. "Why did you pick this location?" "The strongest readings are coming from there. Also, you'll blend in better. The humans are divided by something called nationality. Your cover identity is Kim Do-won, a new professor at their science department." Newell stood up, already changing his body to match the pictures of Kim Do-won on the tablet. His silver skin turned pale, his height adjusted, and his face reformed. In seconds, a perfect copy of Do-won stood in the office. "How long do I have?" 3 Earth months. Find the source of the energy, learn what you can, and report back." Yu Jin handed him a small metal disc. "This will let you send messages back to us. Be careful, Newell. Something about this mission feels wrong." Newell put the disc in his pocket, which he had created along with the human clothes he now wore. "Director, you worry too much. Humans are simple creatures. They still think they're alone in the universe. They won't even know I'm there." As he walked toward the door, Yu Jin called out one last time. "Hey, Newell." The other infiltrators. They were all as confident as you are now. He waved without turning around. In his mind, the mission was already a success. After all, how could humans possibly be a threat to the best infiltrator in the galaxy? He had fooled species with technology far beyond Earth's capabilities. These humans, with their primitive computers and fossil fuel vehicles, would never spot him. The next day, Newell's ship approached Earth under the cover of their primitive satellites. As he prepared to land, he thought about his perfect record. Mission number 200, and one would be just another success to add to his list. He didn't know that on Earth, in a small laboratory, a computer screen was already blinking with an alert. A new signal had been detected entering Earth's atmosphere. And Dr. Lee Jae-yun smiled as she watched the dot moving across her screen. "Welcome to Earth," she whispered. "We've been expecting you." The university campus was quiet in the early morning. Newell, now fully disguised as Professor Kim Do-won, walked toward the science building. He had spent the last week learning everything about the real Do-won, who was conveniently traveling in Europe. The identity switch had been perfect, as always. Students bowed slightly as they passed him. Newell returned their bows, copying their exact angles. His research had shown that Koreans were very particular about such gestures. Every detail mattered for a perfect infiltration. The science building looked ordinary, but his sensors detected strange energy patterns coming from the basement levels. As he approached the entrance, a young woman in a white lab coat walked out. She stopped when she saw him. "Ah, "You must be Professor Kim Do-won," she said, smiling. "I'm Dr. Lee Jae-yun. The department head told me you were interested in our quantum research project." Han-Nul felt something odd about her smile. It seemed too ready, too practiced. But he dismissed the thought. "Yes, I'm very interested in your work. The papers you've published about energy patterns are fascinating. Would you like to see our lab?" Jae-yun asked. "We're doing some interesting experiments today." The basement laboratory looked simple at first glance. Old computers lined the walls. Basic testing equipment sat on metal tables. But Han-Nul's enhanced senses detected advanced technology hidden beneath the ordinary appearance. The energy readings were stronger here. 2 research assistants worked at different stations. Jae-yun introduced them as Park Min-ho and Kang Do-mai. They both smiled and bowed, but their eyes seemed to study him too carefully. "We're studying some unusual energy signatures," Jae-yun explained, showing him a computer screen filled with data. "They appear randomly around the city. We're trying to understand their source." Han-Nul looked at the screen. The pattern matched exactly with his own energy signature. These humans weren't just detecting general alien presence. They were tracking his specific type of shape-shifting energy. "Fascinating," he said, keeping his voice calm. "How did you develop the technology to detect these signatures?" "Oh, we just got lucky," Jae-yun said lightly. "Sometimes the simplest methods work best. Would you like some coffee, Professor Kim?" Han-Nul accepted the cup she offered. He pretended to drink while scanning the liquid. It was just coffee, but something still felt wrong. The whole setup was too perfect, too convenient. Min-ho walked past, accidentally bumping into Han-Nul's shoulder. "Sorry, Professor," he said quickly. Han-Nul felt a slight tingle where Min-ho had touched him. His shape-shifting ability flickered for a fraction of a second, so briefly that no human should have been able to notice. But when he looked up, all 3 humans were watching him. Their faces were still friendly, but their eyes were sharp and focused. Jae-yun's smile hadn't changed at all. "Is everything all right, Professor Kim?" she asked. "You look uncomfortable." "I'm fine," Han-Nul said. "Just a bit tired from the move to a new city." "Of course," Jae-yun nodded. "Please feel free to visit our lab anytime. We're always happy to share our research with interested parties." As Han-Nul left the building, he sent a message to Director Yoo-jin. "Something is wrong. The humans know more than they should. Request permission to abort mission." The answer came back quickly. "Permission denied. Find out what they know. But be careful. And Han-Nul, watch your back." In the lab, Jae-yun watched Han-Nul leave on her monitors. She turned to her assistants. "Well done. The energy signature match is perfect. He's definitely one of their elite agents." "Should we take him now?" Do-mai asked. "Not yet," Jae-yun replied. "Let's see what he does next. After all, the best way to catch a spy is to let them think they're still in control." Min-ho looked at the small device on his hand, the one he'd used when bumping into Han-Nul. "The tracker is working. He won't be able to change forms without us knowing now." Jae-yun smiled. This time, it wasn't friendly at all. "Perfect. Let the game begin." Han-Nul sat in his office at the university, reviewing security footage from the lab. Something about Dr. Lee Jae-yun's research team bothered him. They moved too smoothly, worked too efficiently. In his 200 previous missions, he had never seen humans act quite like this. He watched Min-ho and Do-mai on the screen. They worked late into the night, never making mistakes, never showing tiredness. Their movements reminded him of something, but he couldn't place what. A knock on his door interrupted his thoughts. "Come in," he said, quickly changing the screen to show student papers. Jae-yun walked in, carrying a folder. "Professor Kim, I hope I'm not disturbing you. I wanted to share some interesting data we collected yesterday." Han-Nul noticed she didn't look at the papers on his desk, or the books on his shelves, or any of the carefully placed items that made up his human identity. Most humans couldn't help but look around a new room, but her eyes stayed fixed on him. "Not at all," he said, gesturing to a chair. "Please, show me." She opened the folder and spread out several graphs. "We've been tracking energy spikes across the city. They seem to follow a pattern. See here." She pointed to a red line that peaked and fell. "The energy appears whenever something changes in the environment." Newell looked at the graph. The peaks matched exactly with the times he had used his shape-shifting abilities. They weren't just tracking him. They were recording his every transformation. "Fascinating," he said, keeping his voice steady. "Have you found the source?" "Not yet." Jai-Yun smiled her perfect smile. "But we're getting closer every day." After she left, Newell tried to send another message to Director Eugene, but his communication device wouldn't work. The signal was blocked by something in the building. He would have to wait until he got back to his apartment. Later that evening, he walked through the campus, taking a different route than usual. In an empty hallway, he quickly changed his appearance to match a passing student. Nothing major, just his height and face. The change took less than a second. Immediately, his phone buzzed. A text message appeared. "Energy spike detected in Science Building. Section C time. 2047. Newell froze. The message wasn't from his people. It was from the university's security system. They weren't just tracking his energy. They could pinpoint his exact location. He hurried to his apartment and tried to contact Director Eugene again. This time, the message went through. Humans have advanced tracking systems. They can detect and locate shape-shifting energy instantly, requesting immediate extraction. The response came an hour later. "Continue mission. Find out how they got this technology. Priority upgrade. Determine if previous missing agents are connected." Newell looked out his window at the city lights. In all his years as an infiltrator, he had never felt hunted before. But now, every security camera, every phone, every computer screen seemed to be watching him. In the lab below the university, Jai-Yun watched multiple screens showing Newell's location. Minho and Damai stood behind her, their perfect posture never wavering. "He's getting nervous," Damai said. "Should we move to Phase 2? Jai-Yun shook her head. "Not yet. Let him investigate a little more. Let him think he's getting closer to the truth." She touched one of the screens, showing Newell's energy signature. After all, the others were just as careful, just as skilled, and now they're here with us. Minho smiled, his first real expression of the day. "They all try to run when they figure it out." "Yes," Jai-Yun agreed, "but none of them ever get far enough." Newell waited until midnight before entering the laboratory. The university campus was empty, and the security cameras showed only empty hallways, though he no longer trusted what they displayed. He had disabled his shape-shifting abilities to avoid detection, keeping his Professor Kim do one form. The basement laboratory door opened with a soft click. Newell had copied Jai-Yun's access card earlier that day when she wasn't watching, or at least when he thought she wasn't watching. Now he wasn't sure about anything anymore. The lab looked different at night. The ordinary computers were still there, but now they showed their true displays. Complex tracking systems and energy detection grids covering the entire city. Newell walked to the main computer and inserted a small device to copy its files. "I wouldn't do that if I were you," the voice said from the darkness. Newell turned quickly. Minho stood in the doorway, but something was wrong with his appearance. His skin seemed to shift slightly, like water moving under glass. Newell had seen that effect before, in other shapeshifters who were struggling to hold their form. "You're not human," Newell said quietly. Minho stepped into the light. "Not originally. No, none of us are. Well, except for Jai-Yun. She's very much human." The truth hit Newell like a physical blow. "The missing agents. You're them. You're the infiltrators who disappeared." "Some of us," Minho nodded. "I was like you once. The best infiltrator from the Centauri systems. I thought humans were primitive too. Simple, easy to fool. He laughed softly. I was wrong. Hanul moved toward the door, but stopped when he saw Demi there, blocking his exit. Her skin had the same shifting effect as Minho's. Why are you working with them? Hanul demanded. What did they do to you? They didn't do anything to us, Demi said. They gave us a choice. The same choice you'll get soon. Jaiyun walked in through another door. She was smiling her perfect smile again, but now Hanul understood why it had bothered him. It was the only truly human thing in the room. The energy signatures were never random, Hanul said, finally understanding. You were generating them. You were calling us here. Very good, Jaiyun nodded. We discovered shapeshifters by accident 20 years ago. Since then, we've learned a lot, including how to detect them, track them, and, she paused, help them. Help them, Hanul asked. Do you know why shapeshifters infiltrate other worlds? Jaiyun asked. Your leaders tell you it's for information gathering, for protection, for survival. But the truth is, they send you because they can control you. Your ability to change makes you valuable, but it also makes you their tools. Hanul wanted to argue, but memories of his 200 missions flashed through his mind. Always following orders, always changing to fit what others wanted. We can free you from that, Jaiyun said softly. We can give you one form, permanently. No more changing, no more missions, just one life, one identity, one true self. That's not freedom, Hanul protested. That's prison. Minho shook his head. That's what I thought too. But think about it. When was the last time you chose your own form? When did you last change shape because you wanted to, not because someone ordered you to? Hanul didn't answer. He couldn't. The choice is yours, Jaiyun said. But first, let us show you what real freedom looks like. Jaiyun led Hanul deeper into the laboratory complex. The basement extended far beyond what the university maps showed. They passed through several secure doors, each requiring different access codes. Minho and Dami walked behind them, their footsteps eerily silent. Earth isn't what you think it is, Jaiyun explained as they walked. We're not just one research facility. We're part of a global network. Every major city has a lab like this one, hidden in plain sight. They entered a large circular room. Screens covered the walls, showing different locations around the world. Hanul saw Paris, New York, Tokyo, and dozens of other cities. Each screen displayed the same type of energy tracking system he had seen upstairs. 217, Jaiyun said, stopping in the center of the room. That's how many shapeshifters we've detected on Earth in the past 20 years. You're number 218. Hanul looked at the screens more carefully. Each one showed multiple energy signatures, but they were different from his. They were stable, unchanging. The other infiltrators, he said. You're tracking all of them. Not tracking, Minho corrected. Protecting. We chose to stay here, to live as humans. But why? Hanul asked. Why would advanced beings choose to live as primitives? Jaiyun touched a control panel, and new images appeared on the screens. They showed shapeshifters from different planets living normal human lives. A teacher helping students, a doctor treating patients, a farmer working in fields. Because humans understand something your people never did, Dami said. Freedom isn't about having endless choices. It's about making one choice that truly matters. Hanul noticed something strange about the images. They're all doing different things, different jobs, different lives. Yes, Jaiyun smiled. When we offer shapeshifters the chance to stay, we don't tell them what form to take or what life to live. We only ask one thing. Choose what you want to be, and be true to that choice. But how? Hanul asked. How can you control our abilities? Even our best scientists can't permanently lock a shapeshifter's form. Jaiyun pressed another button, and a hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed a complex molecular structure that Hanul had never seen before. Humans are different from other species, she explained. Our DNA isn't fixed like yours. It changes, adapts, mutates. We discovered that when human DNA bonds with shapeshifter energy patterns, it creates a permanent link, a choice that can't be undone. You're talking about changing our basic nature, Haynul said, backing away. That's impossible. Impossible. Minho laughed, like how it's impossible for primitive humans to detect shapeshifters, or trap them, or offer them something their advanced civilizations never could. Suddenly, the room's lights turned red. Alarms began to sound. Speaking of traps, Jia said calmly, your superiors just tried to send an extraction team. They're currently trapped in orbit, unable to enter Earth's atmosphere. Did you really think we'd let you warn them without us knowing? Hanul realized the truth. Every message he had sent, every move he had made, they had allowed it all. The humans hadn't just set a trap. They had created an entire web, and he had walked right into its center. Now, Jia said, her voice still gentle but firm, shall we discuss your real options? Haynul sat in a comfortable office, very different from the high-tech control room they had just left. Jia poured tea into delicate cups while Minho and Damai stood near the door. Through the window, he could see the city lights spreading out below the university. Your extraction team will be released unharmed, Jia said, offering him a cup. We don't want a war. We never did. That's why we keep our operations secret. Hanul accepted the tea but didn't drink. Why are you showing me all this? Why not just trap me like the others? Because you're different, Jia replied. 200 successful missions, perfect infiltration record. You're the best they have. And that means you've seen more than most. Tell me, in all those missions, how many times did you question your orders? Hanul remained silent. The truth was, he had never questioned them. Not once in 200 missions. Let me show you something, Jia said. She pressed a button on her desk, and a wall panel slid open. Behind it was a simple room with a bed, some books, and a window showing the night sky. But what caught Haynul's attention was the person sitting in a chair reading. That's impossible, Haynul whispered. That's me. The person in the room was identical to his real form, silver skin, 3 fingers, tall and thin. But they were reading a human book, wearing human clothes, completely at peace. Agent Kojin, Jia said softly. He arrived 3 years ago. Like you, he was their best infiltrator. Now he teaches alien biology to advanced students. They think the silver skin is a rare medical condition. But he's in his true form, Haynul said, confused. How can humans accept that? Minho stepped forward. Humans are strange that way. They care more about who you are than what you look like. Some of us chose human forms, others kept their original appearances. The humans adjusted either way. You mean they don't care? Haynul asked in disbelief. Oh, they care, Damai laughed. They're endlessly curious. They ask questions, take pictures, write stories about us. But they don't fear us anymore. Not since they realized we're just people, like them. Jia touched a control, and the wall panel closed. Your people think shape-shifting is power. They use it to spy, to control, to manipulate. But humans showed us it was actually a prison. Always changing, never being truly ourselves. The DNA bond you mentioned, Haynul said. Does it hurt? No, Minho answered. It feels like waking up, like finally being able to stop pretending. Jia stood and walked to the window. The choice is yours, Haynul. We can send you back. You can tell your superiors that Earth is too well defended, that infiltration is impossible. They'll believe that. Or you can stay. Choose any form you want, human, alien, or anything in between. Live any life you want. Be a teacher, a doctor, an artist. Be yourself for the first time in your life. Hanul looked at his hands, changing them from human to alien, and back again. 200 missions, and he had never once chosen his own form, had never even thought about what he wanted to be. "How long do I have to decide?" he asked. Jai-yun smiled, and for the first time, her smile looked completely natural. "As long as you need. That's what freedom means." 3 days passed while Hanul considered his options. Jai-yun had given him complete freedom to move around the facility. He spent hours talking to other former infiltrators, each with their own story of discovery and choice. On the morning of the 4th day, Hanul found himself in the university's garden. He watched students walking to their classes, laughing and talking. A group had gathered around Ko-jin, who was explaining something about alien plant life. The students seemed fascinated by his silver skin and 3-fingered hands. "Have you made your decision?" Jai-yun asked, appearing beside him. She held 2 cups of coffee, offering one to him. "If I stay," Hanul said, accepting the coffee, "what happens to the real Professor Kim Do-won?" "He'll receive a job offer from a prestigious European university," Jai-yun explained. "Many of our cover identities end up with better lives than they had before. We make sure of that." Hanul nodded. He had spent the past days thinking about his missions, about the lives he had borrowed and discarded. 200 identities, he said quietly. 200 lives I stole, even if only for a short time. And I never once thought about what that meant. "That's why we started this program," Jai-yun said. "Not just to protect Earth, but to help your people. Shapeshifters are taught to see their ability as a gift, but it becomes a curse. Always changing, always hiding, never belonging anywhere." Hanul watched as Ko-jin demonstrated something to his students, creating a small light show with his natural bioluminescence. The students clapped and took pictures. They really don't mind that he's alien. Humans have always dreamed of meeting aliens. Jai-yun smiled. But they wanted to meet them as equals, as friends, not as infiltrators or conquerors. Director Yu Jin's last message played in Hanul's mind. Find out what they know. He now understood that the humans knew everything. They had turned the tables on the infiltrators in the most unexpected way, by offering them a home. "There's something else you should know," Jai-yun said. "If you choose to stay, you'll be asked to help protect Earth, not as a spy or a soldier, but as a teacher. We need people who understand both worlds. To help other infiltrators when they come," Hanul realized. "Yes, every year more arrive. Every year we offer them the same choice. Many stay. Some leave, but all of them learn that humans aren't what they expected." Hanul looked at his hands again. He had changed them so many times, been so many different people. But who was he really? What form would he choose if the choice was truly his? "I have one more question," he said. "The other infiltrators who stayed, are they happy?" Jai-yun pointed to the garden where Ko-jin was now showing his students how to grow alien flowers in Earth soil. His silver face was bright with joy as he taught. In another corner, Minho was playing chess with a colleague, his partially human features relaxed and natural. Demi walked past them, carrying books to her literature class, her unique appearance drawing no more attention than anyone else's. "Why don't you ask them yourself?" Jai-yun suggested. Hanul stood up straighter. For the first time in his long career as an infiltrator, he felt ready to stop pretending. "I think," he said slowly, "I would like to do that." 1 month later, Hanul stood in front of a classroom at the university. He had chosen a form that was partly human and partly his original self, human height and build, but with silver-tinted skin and slightly elongated fingers. The students watched him with interest as he began his first lecture. "Welcome to Introduction to Xenobiology," he said, writing his name on the board. "Not Professor Kim Do-won anymore, but Professor Hanul. Today, we're going to discuss how life adapts to different environments across the galaxy." The DNA bonding process had been exactly as Minho described. like waking up from a long dream. When Newell looked in the mirror now, he saw himself, not a disguise. The face that looked back was the one he had chosen, the one that felt right. During his lunch break, he sat with Ko Jin in the university cafe. Other professors and students sat nearby, some human, some obviously not. A former Centaurian infiltrator floated past, their natural gas-based form contained in a special suit, carrying a tray of Earth food they couldn't eat but enjoyed smelling. Director Yu Jin sent another message. Ko Jin said, sipping his coffee. They're still trying to figure out what happened to their best agent. Newell smiled. What did Jai-yun tell them? The usual. That Earth's defenses are too strong, that infiltration is impossible, that they should stop sending agents. They'll send more anyway. And we'll be here to help them, Newell said. He looked out the window at the campus grounds. Jai-yun was walking with Do-mai, discussing plans for the new alien cultural center they were building. Min-ho was teaching a group of students how to use simple Earth technology to detect shapeshifter energy. Former infiltrators from a dozen different worlds worked together with humans, each contributing their unique knowledge. That evening, Newell visited the secret facility beneath the university. New energy signatures had been detected entering Earth's atmosphere. More infiltrators were coming, following the same orders he once did. Ready for your new role? Jai-yun asked as they watched the tracking screens. Newell nodded. He would help the new arrivals understand what he now knew, that Earth was not a target to infiltrate, but a home for those who wanted to stop running, stop hiding, stop pretending. It's strange, he said. In all my missions, I thought I was studying other species, but humans were the ones studying us all along, learning about us, understanding us, finding ways to help us. That's what humans do best. Jai-yun smiled. We're curious. We adapt. We find ways to turn enemies into friends. Newell touched the screen, watching the new energy signatures move closer. They think they're coming to infiltrate Earth. But they're really coming home, Jai-yun finished. They just don't know it yet. As Newell prepared to meet the new arrivals, he thought about his 200 successful missions. This, his 201st mission, would be different. This time, he wasn't trying to fool anyone. This time, he was helping others find what he had found, the freedom to be himself. The best infiltrator in the galaxy had disappeared on a human world. In his place stood someone better, a teacher, a guide, a bridge between worlds. And he wouldn't have it any other way.